Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with a bag that has quickly become my absolute favorite day adventure pack. This here, the Umlindi from Hill People Gear. This bag is so great for so many reasons. Now, I've covered Hill People Gear products in the past, but this one here today, it's just super special for a couple of reasons. First off, quality that absolutely cannot be beat. USA made, premium materials, badassery, all the way around. Second, the carry capability and the comfort on the trail and in my adventures, absolutely perfect. And three, hitting the sweet spot in size. So perfect. The ability to carry just enough stuff, carry it effectively, and at the same time, fitting in the travel scenario. Fitting in the plane, fitting on the bus, fitting around me, not taking up too much space around the table. Just perfect for adventures. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to show you this in great detail. I had an amazing adventure with this bag, so I'm going to go straight to that footage right away. But if you just want to get to the details, look below. You'll see the timestamp, and you can forward right to the details of the bag. So I'm going to give you all of that footage, then we'll come back to the studio. I'll go through this in detail, and then I'll give you my final thoughts.
green. Yep. Okay. Tighten it all up. Pen's going in, don't get soaked. It's going.
And so now, back from the adventure. Again, just such an awesome adventure and fantastic to have such a great bag. Now, this Umlindi is considered the version 2. I can't really speak to the version 1, but this here, the version 2. The first thing is the 500 denier Cordura material. Beautiful. Absolutely fantastic, incredibly well made, and I love the multicam. There are a ton of different color options depending on your liking. But the incredible part is, well, you'll see all the webbing just perfectly matched to the bag. Companies don't always do that. They don't always go out of their way to color match all of the webbing, but they did it perfectly. Now, I've added some little keepers in strategic locations to help with a little bit of webbing management, but this bag does have the ability to cinch down very, very tight and stay right between your shoulder blades, which is awesome just for maneuverability, but the ability to keep this nice and tidy, or you can loosen everything up and it will expand. Now, in a prior video, I covered the Ute, and this does have the exact same compression system as the Ute, and it's extremely effective for a number of reasons. It's pretty much, I'm gonna call it like a pull forward design. So if I remove the little keepers here, which I added, again, you have the ability to kind of pull this forward and just cinch everything really, really tight. Now you'll notice that there are some shock keepers, but the reality is the way I have the bag set up right now, these are kind of on the inside of some clips that keep them confined to this little area. And so you need something over to the side to keep all this webbing at bay, which again is why I added my own little keepers. So very simple, little modification. That's all this really needed to keep this extremely tight and extremely tidy. Keep in mind the fact that for me, and while I'm traveling, I don't like having a lot of loose tag ends that can get stepped on or caught in doors or latches or things like that. So keeping my bag nice and tidy during travel makes a lot of sense. Heavy duty YKK zippers all the way around, just heavy duty, large, robust, very well made. And the pocket layout is simple yet incredibly effective. Not to mention the fact that this is very modular and you have the ability to add all kinds of other accessories, other pockets, things that you can get directly from Hill People Gear or otherwise. And you certainly can build this bag out to a fairly extreme level. Now, for me, in some way, shape, or form, I'd say sometimes more simple is more betterer. Yeah, more betterer. But in this particular case, you'll see inside aluminum stay, that sheet, so like a frame sheet on the inside, nice rigidity on the back, makes this carry extremely well. And you can bend the aluminum stay to fit and contour your back exactly like you need. Now, most Hill People Gear products don't have a ton in the way of ventilation. That's because the intent is that you sit the bag down on the lumbar and then kind of hang the bag a little bit off your shoulders using this nice wide yoke, and that buys the airspace that you need. And if you're carrying the bag appropriately on your hips, you really don't need it touching your back all that much, so you should have good quality airflow. That was definitely the case for me with the Ute, and that's definitely the case for me with the Umlindi. Now, there are some options for belts. This here is the Recon belt. On my Ute, I had the Prairie belt, which is a little more belt out. But in this particular case, the Recon belt, which I have not really used. Now, keep in mind the fact that I bought this entire setup used. And so, you know, for me, I just need a different size belt. This doesn't quite fit me. It is too small. Not a big deal. I can get a larger belt. But I didn't really need it. This to me worked so well unsupported and just did everything that I need. I felt like I really didn't need to add the belt. Now, the pocket layout is very straightforward. In fact, it is pretty stripped down overall, but that worked out just fine for my needs. I didn't need much more in the way of subdivided capability. Right in the front, you can see here a nice deep pocket. Goes almost, for me, elbow deep. So a nice large pocket right down the front. You can put jackets, tripods, food, water, any sort of accessories. You could put multiple pouches on the inside here, and that would work out just fine. And then the main pocket, a large cavern, very large overall, capable of holding a number of jackets, all your gear, tons of goodies inside, no problem, and just a wonderful layout overall. Now, the nice thing about this material is it is water resistant, so the Cordura nylon treated and is reasonably water resistant. So this does a pretty good job keeping your gear dry. I did find that a couple times it was a little bit damp, and I'm just gonna say a little bit damp, but I was testing this hard and bringing it through some rugged areas. On the top here, top lid does have some hook and loop. So here you can see, very simple, the ability to add your Velcro pouches if you need, or different types of equipment. You could certainly put a number of different things right on the lid. The ability to add your hydration bladder if you so choose. Now, I have not needed to do that, but you could certainly run it on the inside of the bag, or if you had a thin enough one, you could certainly sit it down inside between the frame sheet and that piece of Cordura there. This does have a pass-through design for a hose, so you can see your little pass-through right there, and then unzipping in the back here, simple lid compartment. So again, very basic, but capable of doing exactly what I need, and especially for those simple day trips. Now, you'll notice if you look around this bag, there are a ton of different attachment points. That's because, again, you can fully accessorize this bag. You can add all kinds of pouches and organizers and really build out the volume. Now, I can't say for certain exactly what the volume here is. What I can tell you is this weighs in at around 4 pounds, has an overall dimension here of roughly 6.5 inches once you build it out in thickness, about 11 inches in overall width. Then you have a total height of about 19 inches. You'll see the overall size of this dimensionally is 1,058.5 cubic inches. But then again, they say in some of their information that this rings in at closer to around 32 liters. So maybe once you add some of these accessory pockets and the ability to build out, leveraging the side pockets and whatnot, it does increase the overall capacity to roughly around 32 liters with a beltless carry capability of around 80 pounds and 140 pounds with the belt. And you are never going to need that much weight to be carried in this bag, but you could. Like if you had to carry your dog out and you had a heavy dog, like you could put the dog in here, but what else are you going to put in here that weighs that much? You typically don't have that density of equipment with you in this type of scenario. But again, as we move across the front of the bag, just a few last features. On the side, these awesome, just oversized water bottle pockets. Now you will need to kind of loosen things up with these straps and make it work, but that's nice because you have a ton of that webbing. You can really open this bag up, make it work. You can carry tripods. I mean, I carried tripods and water bottles and all my kids' accessories. You could use these as dump pockets. Very simple, very effective. And then again, the ability to clip things into strategic locations if you needed to, various lashing points. You have the ability to connect things to the straps, which is awesome. Adjustable on your chest strap. Beautiful buckles, all very high-end ITW Nexus buckles. All the materials, USA sourced, USA made, and you can just hear the robust, stout click of these buckles. I mean, there are very nice buckles out there, and these are about as good as they get. Now, in terms of the way you set up this pack, a few different things to consider. You also have these G-hooks, which you do leverage in a couple of different ways depending on your accessories and depending on how you're setting up the bag. For me, at this point, I've simply removed the G-hooks from their sort of standard configuration, which when you connect it to different gear, these will help connect it to the gear. But I basically just leverage the little tabs on the side, loop these down, and at that point, I can tidy everything up, tie it together, cinch it all down, and really make this bag as tight and compressed as possible to minimize the overall profile, keep it tight between my shoulder blades, and keep everything nice and riding close to my back. Fully adjustable on the shoulder harness and the yoke system. So the ability to fine tune exactly how this rides, exactly how close you pull the bag to your back and how high you carry that in combination with these beautiful shoulder straps, nice and wide, distributing the weight right down your chest. Not much in the way of ventilation, but you don't need it. Not much in the way of padding, but you don't need it. It's the width that's doing all the work to spread out the load nice and even, distribute that weight over your shoulders, down your chest, and nice and comfortable, translating down into your hips when you have the belt, or just a fairly reasonable and comfortable ride as long as you keep the weight in your pack manageable. Overall, this Umlindi is absolutely magnificent. Highly recommended. And so there's a few things in this world that fall under the buy once, cry once mentality. This is one of them, but I do have to say, it's so worth it. Any Hill People gear pack is just so nicely made, carries so well, extremely effective. They're nicely accessorizable, and just, they look so good. Striking the balance between that bushcraft, the outdoors, the hiking, even a military look to them, just so cool. This fits me well. It fits my style. I love this bag. So, check in the description box below where you can find links to Hill People gear. Thank you guys for following along. I greatly appreciate that. And if you like this content, do me a favor. Take a look at my Outer Limitless family of channels here on Outer Limitless, hiking, camping, backpacking, all the outdoor excursions. On Outer Limitless 2, tactical, firearms, all that kind of good stuff. Outer Limitless blades, all the sharp and pointy things. And on my Outer Limitless lights channel, headlamps, flashlights, indoor, outdoor lighting, you name it. That's the Outer Limitless family of channels. So thanks again, guys. Take care now. I'll see you soon.